Hey everyone, it's Donna Cravata, and we're back again with a live panel, a wisdom panel. And today's panel is about courage and learning how to dance with the fear and do that thing, whether you're afraid or not. And we have quite a panel today. I'm going to introduce them quickly, and then we are going to jump right into conversation. We have Susie DeVille, who's a business coach, best-selling author of Buoyant, and she's an artist and the founder and CEO of Innovation and Creativity Institute. Susie helps entrepreneurs, creators, and visionary leaders work less, earn more, feel more calm, clear, and confident by tapping into their innate creativity. And then we have Faith Saunders. She is the founder of I Can Make a Difference Now. She's an advocate for single parents. She's a career coach, a transformational trainer. And in this phase of her life, Faith's intention is to create a lasting legacy that will benefit single parents for generations to come. Laura Cheadle is a burnout recovery expert, coach, speaker, podcaster, and author of Flaunt. She helps professionals move beyond soothing the symptoms of burnout and resolve the root cause, which is often betrayal. And Iris Goldfeder is the founder and CEO of Gas Stove Creative. It's an all-in-one marketing solutions agency for service-based businesses. She's also the podcast host of the Cookbook Podcast and the host of the upcoming TV show Unique Voices, which will be available on Roku and Apple TV. And in addition to the many hats she wears, she's an advocate and frequent speaker on LGBTQIA plus rights. And Tracy Higginbotham is a 30-year entrepreneur. She's the founder of Women's Ties and Tracy's Sports Adventure. And she has been promoting, publicizing, and uniting women entrepreneurs and their companies online and in person to cultivate strong economic relationships, to advance their companies, and eradicate pay inequality for decades. And she has also now branched out into having these sports adventures, and some of them are quite adventurous. We'll talk about them as well. But this panel is like the shit, and we're here to mix things up. So I'm just going to start the conversation with what happened when you turned 50, and if we can work that around courage. Like, did the courage amp up? Did that dance with courage really go from a waltz to a foxtrot?
I'll start. I was 52 when I ran the Boston Marathon with Catherine Switzer, the one and only feminist icon. And I was always just a 2-mile-a-day runner, but running the Boston Marathon and training for the Boston Marathon was mind-blowing. I would have never thought in my life that at 50, because my perception of 50 was old, that I would ever run a marathon. So I won't say anything more about that, but it was the best experience of my life. And so spurred everything else since then.
Excellent.
Wow.
Excellent.
I'll go next then.
All right.
Since you started with the 52, because at 52, that's the number. At 52, I decided to leave a 9-to-5 job and to start my own company. And at that time, my kids had all, again, I was a single parent, and there's a theme. Being a single parent, my kids had all grown. They went to college. They were on their own. But there was this thing saying that it's time to do you. And it was a very difficult decision to make. And I'm glad that I made it. But at 52, that was what was happening in my life.
Okay, who wants to go next?
Oh.
Okay, Susie.
So I entered into my 50s as I was just exiting my nuclear winter period, which was actually a wonderful crucible for building courage. And so after I had just turned 50, I made the decision that I was going to sell my real estate company and devote my time to creating a book, which had been a lifelong dream of mine, as well as devoting the majority of my time to the Innovation and Creativity Institute and helping entrepreneurs. So while I don't wish a nuclear winter period on anyone, it actually turned out to be one of the biggest blessings in my life.
Yeah, it often does that.
I'll hop in after you, Susie, because I had a similar experience. I turned 50, left my career, created an entire new career, had everything perfect, everything aligned. And then, boom, my life and my world imploded. And I had to make that decision. How do I move on? Where do I move on? And oh my gosh, can I really do this? Because now I'm so old.
Yeah, I guess I can hop on 10 years later, because at about 61, I reinvented myself, my business, started the podcast. And it was, I wouldn't say a nuclear winter, but I had a really shitty 3 years that kind of beat me down. And I had a condition from COVID, and was waiting a year to die, not realizing it. And when I found out that I wasn't going to die, that I was going to live, everything changed. So, yeah.
Susie, Janet's asking, what is a nuclear winter? Can you?
My personal version of nuclear winter began when the markets crashed in 2008. And I basically lost everything in my life, my marriage, my finances, my health just imploded. And that period lasted about 5 years. But it was that time in the fire that took me in a direction away from leaning so heavily into my left brain, logical, analytical mind, and leaning into my creativity centers, which became the divining rod for finding the greatest joy and success I've ever experienced.
It's amazing. I watched some of that unfold, and it was quite amazing to watch that happen. And Cherokee, who is another amazing woman over 50, is she's sharing that it's never old, it's seasoned. I like that. Okay, so we're going to jump into some more conversation here, and we are going to talk about ageism, specifically past the age of 50. So can each of you share a story where you just looked this in the face and said, nope, not buying that?
Well, I would just say, so I've lost all my hair to alopecia, and I lost that after I ran in the Boston Marathon. And so having to look in the mirror and realize that my beauty was within me, not what I was seeing in the mirror, is how ageism, that's the word that kind of popped into me, because I don't think there's enough conversation about women, and as we age that we do change. Physically we change. We change in a lot of different ways, emotionally, who's around us and everything. And so it took me a little time to face the fact that I might not look as young as I was now, being a bald person, but that we all are going to age, and therefore need to accept the fact that people perceive us a certain way, and that we may perceive ourselves a way that isn't the way we should. So I'll stop there with that, because I've been a woman entrepreneur for 30 years. So in terms of in the workplace, I haven't faced ageism.
I haven't faced it either. I think for me, we have really good genes on my side of the family. Yay. Because I'll be 64 in May, which I still can't wrap my brain around, but it is what it is. And I think with that, I haven't run into the ageism piece as well, but for myself, it's coming to terms with the fact that, I am 64 and that my next big birthday is 70. It's kind of mind blowing. But I think it also lends to what we've learned and how much wisdom we've gained. And so I lean into it that way, and I'll stop there.
Yeah. I think for me, and I think I see a theme here in terms of it's not for me, it wasn't about what the outside, but my own struggle with age. I don't know when it happened. It's just like I'm mature. I don't say old. I say mature. Mature person. No, it just happened, and it was hard to kind of wrap my mind around. I remember when I turned 50, and I went to the mailbox. I got something from AARP. That's what I was. I was so floored. I was so upset, to be honest with you.
I got mine at 45. I'll just throw that out there. So.
But again, I think it's an internal journey to realize that it's maturing. As it's not aging, it's maturing, and with that maturity come wisdom, and wisdom to actually, not only in my life, I'm thinking for myself, not only in terms of helping me to move forward with this next phase of my life, but how can I help the new generation coming up, these young moms to be able to prepare for, because we're all getting here, right? When they get here, how to be better prepared to step into their own themselves, and owning what they have to offer.
Like the rest of you, I am right there with you. I haven't experienced it outside, but the ageism is inside of me. And why am I building this if I only have 20 years to work it? Oh my gosh, how much effort can I spend reclaiming my body, anti-aging my face? And at what point do I just say, you know what, I'm really healthy and I'm happy and I'm strong, and it's about feeling good. It's not about looking a certain way. So it's all internal shifts for me.
So true.
I agree. My biggest role model with regard to how to move in the entrepreneurial world was my father, and he worked until he was 84, not because he had to, but because he loved it. So ageism for me is sort of a distant concept, and nothing that I have really sort of struggled against in terms of feeling like it was a limit. But I will say something about my ability and desire to travel overseas by myself for long periods of time has brought out ageism beliefs in some of my friends, who say to me, "Oh my God, you're going what? Where? By yourself? For how long? Aren't you scared? How do you know what to do? Do you speak the language?" So I see that kind of lens that other people look through, but I would love to encourage anyone who may be on the sidelines wondering if they're too old to take the adventure. I want to assure you, you are not.
Yeah, that's great. And now I want to go into this, like the dancing with the fear and the stepping into courage. And I think that a really good angle for this conversation, because I know from where you're all coming and the things that you've accomplished, and like, what are the things that you do that, like what Susie was just saying, that other people look at you like, are you out of your mind? Like, why are you doing that? But for you, it just feels like, well, of course I'm doing this. So, and what I feel so strongly about with these things that we do, because we have all stepped outside of that box, right? And we've chosen to take a path that is not traditional. Like, how do you want that to leave a legacy, an impact, a change?
I think I got my biggest eyebrow raises when I went into the WWE ring with some dudes and tried professional wrestling, which I must tell you, leading up to that moment, I was very nervous and thought, what the heck am I doing at this age, thinking that I could do this? But, what you realize, and the word I like using is being undaunted, which means you are fearful, but you do it anyways. And that's really what I try to live with when I try some of these different sports that people just think I'm crazy. But I bring as many women along that want to come with me. So, I think it's about being fearful and doing it anyways, because it's going to enlighten you and give you more courage and more bravery and everything.
That's pretty awesome. I'm a musician, and I've done everything from, standards to, whatever. And at 58, I joined a metal band. And it was very cathartic, but I wasn't sure I could do it. I wasn't sure I had the voice. I wasn't sure I had the stamina. I slayed it. And I did it. Actually, I joined when I was, I think, 54, and I quit when I was like 58, 59. But it was just amazing. Just, going, oh my God, I couldn't do this when I was 25. And here I am at like, almost like 25, 30 years later. And here I am just screaming and jumping around on stage like a crazy person. And it was amazing. So a lot of fun.
That's something. Cherokee's chiming in, and she's got a great message here, but she ends it with "We are magnificent," and I have to agree.
I love Cherokee. I love her energy.
I think a lot of it too are restrictions, either societal or from our families. My mother hated guns, but my husband, loves deer hunting. And so for me to put away what traditionally the women in my life would never have ever tried to go out deer hunting, was because that's what I was told was the wrong thing to do. So I think when you get into your 50s, you might say, you know what, the heck with it. I'm going to try the things that maybe I restricted myself in because of others' opinions of me. So I think that's why we get braver and more courageous as we get older.
Yeah.
For me, I really found my courage was bolstered when I let go of doing something and hoping that it went right just for doing it for the experience. It's not about doing it and succeeding or doing it and failing. It's about doing it. And several of you already know this, but I started, speaking of dancing burlesque when I was 48 because I wanted to, because I was a former dancer, because it was a way for me to reclaim my image and do something outside of the box. And it took a lot of courage, and a lot of people questioned it, and a lot of people misunderstood what it was. You're stripping? No, not at all. That's not it. And even if I was, what's it to you? And that doesn't change my intellect, and it doesn't change my heart, and it doesn't change who I am. And just having that experience of doing something that was questionable really led me, I think, more into my power, more into my courage, and more into this unquenchable desire to do what I wanted to do for the experience, not for the result.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, I think that's the cool thing, right? It's what we were kind of touching on yesterday was being authentic, leaning into who we really are. Like, am I a metalhead? No, but I love, all kinds of music. Absolutely. You with dancing, who gives a shit what kind of dancing you do? Does it make you happy?
Right.
That's
right.
what we need to do. What is going to make us happy? That's not going to hurt anybody. That's it. I mean,
exactly. I'm reading again Brené Brown, Daring Greatly. And one of the things that she says is that life is vulnerability. I had to find that page. It's about being vulnerable. So we can't have courage without being vulnerable. And I think that, the more you do the work, because I think you have to do the work, the more you do the work and come into terms in terms of who you are and that I am okay, no matter what, then it gives you that courage to be more vulnerable, to be able to do the things that without caring what other people may think, so, and for me, I can just tell it's a work in progress. Some days I'm really good at it. There are some days that I still have to work on it. So yeah, it's good.
I love that you said that. I just want to hop in real fast, Faith. I love that you said about doing the work, because there is a huge difference between doing something to show off or to prove your point or to obnoxiously put something in somebody's face, and doing something that is authentic and vulnerably you, because you're doing the work and you're leaning into it. So thank you for that.
And that's what changes us.
And for those who are listening and wondering, well, how is it that I reclaim my authentic self? somewhere along the way when life got busy, I kind of forgot who she is.
Mhm.
And I do have a very simple way that you can fold that into your life. And it's basically something that I call the 5 M's. And the first one is meditation. The second is morning pages, a la Julia Cameron's, 3 pages of longhand writing in a journal every morning. The third is movement. The fourth is moments of inspired learning. And the fifth, which is the one that all my hard charging entrepreneurs fight me on the most, is making something. And I have found that when we engage in the act of making something without the focus on the end product, just for the experience, that it ignites in us a willingness to take much more bold action. And when we take more bold action, it unleashes our connection to our intuition, which then fires up courage and synchronicity. So it's this beautiful cycle that we can intentionally create and spark anytime we desire to. We can amp up our courage in a moment's notice, and we can also remember who we truly are and what it feels like to truly be alive.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Susie. And we talked a little bit yesterday because we kind of had a couple of us got together to just, get to know each other a little before we did this. And one of the things that I had brought up in the conversation was as we get older, we start to remember who we were and the parts that we forgot along the way. So maybe we could talk about that a little bit because we've all experienced that reconnection. And I believe many of the people that would be listening to this have experienced that as well. Or maybe they're in the messy middle.
I was going to say, I went to a retreat led by a woman entrepreneur, and it was an outside retreat. They had yoga and meditation and art in it. And it happened to be in a place in New York State called Pixley Falls, which was a place that my parents as coaches and physical education teachers gathered with other coaches and PE teachers and their kids. And I have not been back there in years. And it was there that I kind of honed in on the fact that I never followed into sports as a profession like my sister did, but that now was my time. And the leader said to me, she said, well, Tracy, it's really that it's your birthright. And it was just this, I chose to be more entrepreneurial like my aunt was. But the truth is the sports was something that I was born into these parents that have this great love for sports. And yet I didn't partake in it until later in life. So it was just the birthright statement grabbed me. And so as we're getting older, if we can sometimes think back to, well, what was our birthright? Maybe looking at our family and our parents or our siblings and kind of hone in on that to be able to experience more of what that is as we age.
Well, I think, you say that, and not me, my aunt who now has dementia, but she was born into a musical family. My mother, the reason I have my voice is my mother. The reason she had her voice was my father. My other aunt, if you gave her $1 million to carry, she couldn't carry a tune. She just couldn't. But Eileen later in life, decided she was going to go for it. So she did. And to watch her do it, for me was so exciting because it was like, oh my God, you're doing something that, you've been looking at to do and to love. And she was watching me going, how do you do it? And for me, it was so inherent. It was like, how did I not do it? Kind of thing. But yeah. So it wasn't my experience, but it was hers. And it was just amazing to watch her do it because now she can't, clearly. So, yeah.
Something that's fascinating to me when I work with clients and when I connect to myself every single morning during my 5M series is that the soul never forgets what it is that we truly love.
Nope.
And it's kind of buried or a lot buried under duty, responsibility, the expectations of others, life getting busy, being overwhelmed. And it can take one of these nuclear winter-like moments, or something else to kind of jar us out of our routine, to remember that, oh, I used to love to do X, Y, and Z. And for me, it was the spring of 2012 when my son was going to be away during the first visitation period following the divorce. And it was the first holiday I wasn't going to spend with him. And I was just feeling so sorry for myself. And then about 5 minutes later, I thought, oh, well, I could go to Paris. And I hadn't traveled for 20 years.
Wow.
And I, in a moment, remembered, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I love. That's exactly who I am. I love to go and experience these things. And I booked the trip immediately. And it was a trip that launched me on an entirely new trajectory. And so these moments that we initially may want to resist are beautiful opportunities to call ourselves home.
Awesome. That's a great statement.
That is great.
I totally agree that it's in each and every one of us. It's about being able to lean in and embrace it. And sometimes we're not even aware of it because it's so blatant. It's right there in front of us. But we're not aware of it. For me, I love art, and my life has always been, how can I make something out of nothing? I'm looking at something and like, how can I make something? Not, but I'm not thinking about being an artist. That I'm an artist. I'm just thinking, how can I salvage something? And what happened for me was a friend of mine brought it out by inviting me years ago to it was the holidays and they were making cards, and she said, do you want to come? I'm like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. But I went, and that again changed my life. It put me on a path that there were things that are coming out of, and they were like, are you sure you never did this before? I'm like, no, but something just started coming out, and that again changed my life, kind of brought me into something that was already there, but I wasn't even aware of it.
So we were talking about intuition before.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, my intuition didn't kick in until I was older and wiser. And now I always look like, how it's like your gut tells you to do something. You're like, yeah, I'm going to ignore it or whatever. I never ignore it anymore, because every single time I ignored it, it was like Einstein, insanity is making the same mistake and expecting different results. I kept ignoring my intuition. As soon as I started leaning into it and listening to it, what a difference. Just a complete difference.
I would just also, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. I was just going to say, before Faith maybe answers that question, is I was doing an event down in Ithaca, and somehow the topic of saying yes, there was the movie, was it Don't Say No or whatever, Jim Carrey in it, but I committed to myself for a month to say yes to all the invitations I got. And it opened the most amazing doors, people and opportunities. So I would challenge, and it's a little what you're all saying, is say yes to some things that you normally would say no to, and just say yes for yes and do it.
I love that.
So Faith, Mary Beth is asking to share how you help the women you work with reconnect to their true selves, because they're going through some hard things.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mary Beth. So one of the things that we do, I have a journal. I journal a lot, right? And I find that journaling really helps me to tap into, some of the, I've uncovered so many things about myself by just going through my journals and kind of rereading them, etc. And journaling, I really explain to people, doesn't have to be about writing. There's so many different ways of journaling. So that's one of the ways that I really encourage the women to actually tap into who they are by journaling and you again doing art, whatever inspires you, use that to express yourself. And then going back and looking at it and say, what does this bring up for me? Right. And kind of exploring that. The other things that we do with I Can Make a Difference, we bring people to different areas, different things. So one of the things that we do for our single moms is we take them away for a weekend at a beautiful lakefront facility up in Sussex County, and it's at the Y. And the moms, as a single mom, most of the time, many people do not have, or should let me take it back. Some people may not have the resources to do it. Others may do have the resources, but they're thinking, I'm away for the weekend and my kids are at home. So it's just like this guilt thing going on there, etc. So what we create a world where we bring both of them together, where the kids have a chance to do fun things they never had a chance to do, archery, being out on the lake, fishing, etc. And we have a space where the moms can actually just be, and we do fun stuff with them, but we also do the work. We create environments where they can actually do the work. So exposing people, because sometimes when we are stuck in our space, even just in our homes, just stepping outside can bring up so much more creativity for us rather than being in the same space. So those are just some of the ways that we actually expose the women into tapping into a different side of themselves.
That's great. And that kind of takes me to the next question. Like, how does courage relate to, or as a result of allowing your creativity to flow? Because so many of us are leaning into that right brain side, and I mean the left brain side, and we're focused on work and getting things done, and you got to do this and all of the task list out the very long task list. But when we stop doing that and we kind of tap into that creative side. Susie, you helped me so much with this because I did not realize I was creative until you. Like, talk about this, because I'm sure there are tons of people that are not doing this, and it is life-changing. It really is. And it's fun. Like, we're allowed to have fun, and I think we forget that.
I'd love to hop in on that one, because when I work with my clients on burnout, one of the first things that I always do is I talk about there's work and there's play. And kids play for the sake of play. They don't play to get better at something. They don't play to impress somebody. They don't play to get skinny. They don't play, they play for the sake of play.
Mm-hmm.
And to start challenging people to think about, what are you doing for the sake of fun, for the sake of play? And so often we enter careers enjoying it because it's a passion and it's something that we love. And somewhere along the line, we have that mindset shift that this is work and it has to be serious and it can't be fun anymore. The work didn't change. We change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's reconnecting to that sense of play and remembering what you liked. I like to dance and move and jump around and sing and play dress up. You might like to do sports and kick things and, climb. You might like to draw. You might connect to what you like. What I like and what you like are different things. But how can you play again for the sake of play every single day? Because once you connect to that, that creativity just starts flowing, and then you can't even stop it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things being in marketing for me is, and probably why I chose marketing, is because I can be creative. It's not just work, it's not just strategy, it's all of those things, but there's also the creative piece. And for me, I'm more right brain than left brain, but I'm actually both, leaning more to the right. So how fortunate am I that I get to be in a career that, I get to use both. So I'm grateful every day that I can do that. And then there's the days that the pesky logic, gets in and, kind of makes you go, wait a minute. But yeah, I think I chose my career path because I can incorporate the left and the right sides of my brain daily. So it's nice.
But I think it's something, especially as our lives get more hectic and we have more responsibilities, it's something that we have to intentionally set time to do. Because if you don't set time to do it, so often I hear the women and just friends that say, I don't have time. And my question is, how many hours do you get? How many hours? And everyone comes up with 24. So it's about how we actually choose to use that time. So,
Right.
but it's so important to be able to be creative and create that space to play, because one, it takes you away from the hustle and bustle of stuff and actually helps you to kind of rejuvenate, to be able to move on and move forward in a better way.
And I'll also add, I know that Susie, you have, the creativity, and Laura, you do, the dancing. I have my band. It's not a metal band, but I have my band. So I made room for that again. And usually every Wednesday night for 2 hours, I leave the house and I do my thing. And yeah, you're right. You have to make the time for it, because at the end of the day, it nurtures your soul.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't do things to nurture our soul, then we don't grow in a healthy way, I don't think. I think the more we do things that speak to us, that we enjoy, that we embrace as fun, as play.
I
It's
would
super
also
important.
add, just as women entrepreneurs, and I've been a woman entrepreneur for 30 years, primarily working out of my home. And this happened when I was training for the Boston Marathon, but I'm telling you, it's going to happen as soon as I'm done with this meeting, is that I go and run, or I'll go cross country ski smack in the middle of my day as my lunch hour, come back, and during that time when I've given myself some type of sporting activity and I come back, I'm so fresh, and it's like starting your day all over again. And that's just building time into your day. And as if we're women entrepreneurs, so I don't tell my clients, well, I'm going cross country skiing. I say, you know what, I'm out on a very important business appointment at the moment, but I will call
But it
you.
is important, right?
And now they know.
I'll come back with pink cheeks and I'll be in a great mood. So I think we can play into business days if we are women entrepreneurs.
For
Yeah.
those who are watching and listening right now, who are sort of pulling their hair out saying, just tell me what to do, how to do this creativity stuff, because I have no clue what you guys are talking about, right? Back before I discovered that I was creative, I used to have what I called my clipboard Susie mode, which was, I was just focused on logistics, my trains running on time, getting from A to B, making sure it was perfect, and all the ducks were in a row. And of course, that's no fun for anybody, especially me. So there are a lot of people who are just starting this process who are looking for, okay, what is the easiest way I can get going? And I recommend just buy a book, a journal that can be from any store. It doesn't have to be fancy. I have one. I'll actually have probably 15 at the moment, but I have a little book that I use for a commonplace journal and an art journal. And what you can do is, if you want to incorporate some morning pages, but you want to start small, you can use the right-hand side of the book for your one page of just a brain dump. The left-hand side of the page can be an art page. And before your eyes roll back in your head, that can be anything from cutting out pictures and making a collage, to doodling, to doing a little sketching exercise, to placing color or paint on a page without any desire to make it a finished product. 5 minutes for that left and right page is more than enough to ignite this chain reaction and so that you can touch into your creativity back channels, firing your intuition, and also helping you remember what desires that you have, giving you the courage to take and make those decisions that you need to make. And that, of course, again, going back to synchronicity, that's where the magic happens and the alchemy of creating the life that you truly want.
This is my show and tell time. This is what I created working with Susie. And it's this many pages long of all different things that I created working with her in her workshop. I had no idea I could do this. No idea. It's
I think
amazing.
we all have some kind of creativity in us, whether it's writing or drawing or singing or dancing or whatever. Cross country skiing. I put skis on, I fall on my ass. It is what it is. Like I have like zero balance. But we all have our own, skills and talents. And I think that at the end of the day, really looking inside and reaching inside and finding what they are and pulling them out and then doing them, whatever it is. I think that there's a lot of strength in that. And I encourage you. I started mindfulness 4 years ago, and that was like the best thing that I ever did, because I got so in touch with myself and was able to do the inner work. And for me, I know I sing. I know I can't dance, but I can sing. And I can entertain the hell out of a crowd and, whatever. I've always known that, but I didn't know the other stuff that was in there. And I didn't realize all of the inner work that needed to be done. COVID showed that, right? When COVID hit and everybody lost their minds. But being able to really look inward and do the work and pull the things out, I think that's where the real magic happens. And it's hard. It's hard. It is work. Like, Faith, where you said, you have to do the work. You have to do the work. You have to do the work or you're not going to get results. So you have to invest the time in yourself to do it.
One of the things that I will often tell people to do, my clients or even just friends, is create a playlist that will help you do it when you can't do it for yourself. Because it's pretty much impossible, to listen to your favorite song from the 80s or, that great new Taylor Swift anthem or anything like that, and to not have a change of state. So have your playlist that empowers you. Have your playlist that grounds you. Have a playlist for every emotion that you want to create, because the music will change your state. And eventually you're going to be moving to it a little bit. You're going to be going and it's going to be fun. And you're not then trapped in that part of your brain that's all about fear. You have reclaimed your nervous system. You've moved back into this prefrontal cortex and you're letting that flow happen. And that, I think, is really powerful, because we can't always do it ourselves. We do get hijacked. Our nervous system does get hijacked. We do fall into fear. Let the music do it for you when you can't do it for yourself.
That's awesome. And I said this last night, my anthem for 2 years was Lizzo, and it still is sometimes, Lizzo's Truth Hurts. I'm 100% that bitch. And, when I would get in my Faith's laughing, but it's true, right? When I would get in my imposter syndrome or, whatever would creep in, I just go in, I turn that on. My dogs, I'm on video on my security. The security people must be like, oh my God, because for a while, like 3 times a week between that and It's About Damn Time, Lizzo's my woman. That's what I have on. That's what gets me going. And you're right. It takes you out of that stuck spot and out of that, part where we're all jumbled up and we don't know how the hell to get out of it. But yeah, that's when I just dance and jump around. And
there's a real 50 over 50 Spotify playlist. It's called The Wisdom Revolution. So
we need to add that to it.
I've invited all of the women of the 50 over 50 to add songs to that. So I'll share the link with you again. So you can do that. And I'll also share the link in the comments so people can go and listen to the music that inspires us.
There you go.
That's great. Thank you, Donna.
All right. So we are going to move on. I'm going to go a little deep now. So how does good girl culture erode our self-trust, and how can we snap out of that? How can we use our courage to snap out of that?
I was raised by a kind of radical mom, so good girl culture is nothing that I've ever worried about. I guess I've always just kind of lived the way that I've wanted to, and I think part of that suited me to be a woman entrepreneur because I couldn't, I can't just follow norms or standards. It's like I need to have it kind of be my way. And good girl culture. My whole thing is a feminist buying message, which is that women buy from women first and foremost, no matter what. I don't care. We don't make enough money as men do, so therefore. And so I've had to just live in that truth and say it and not care what anybody else thought about it because that's the way I feel.
Talk more about that. Like, how do you, if you didn't experience it personally, you've created a platform for 30 years for women to be able to pull out of that culture. So how does the work that you do impact that?
Well, it's just that if you feel that women aren't getting their fair shake in life, mainly due to the revenue and the business opportunity side, then I say it's up to women to change that. I mean, we can't wait for a pay equality law to happen. My God, who knows how long it's going to be. But if we realize that we can take the money that we earn and put it in the hands of another woman first and foremost, then that's making some type of difference. And so I'll encourage women, when you go to, say, buy a new car, I always ask for the female sales rep. I don't care if a guy is the first person that comes out to say hello to me. I'm like, I know that they're going to get a commission. I want the female to get the commission. And that was part of developing women ties, was if somebody here in Syracuse was looking, say, for a photographer, and they were only male photographers here and they couldn't find a female photographer for some reason, then I would say, yeah, but I know of a female photographer in Rochester or Albany or Saratoga or Ithaca. Let me connect you. Hire them first. Buy from them first. And so that's where a lot of the pushback for me came, because they're like, well, and I say, I have a husband and 2 sons. I love men. I have nothing against them, but I feel empowered to try to change the world financially for women by encouraging women to support them financially.
Yeah. And part of that good girl culture is they don't ask. So,
right.
By you doing that, you've created a platform for asking, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think it's just asking. I think it's showing value, because we can ask for business, but if we don't show the value that we could bring, or how we help them through our ask, then it's just an ask. But I really agree with that 100%. I think that women need to support women. And I wish, like every day I pray and wish that we could get, women in politics where they need to be. And I'm going to say sensible women, and that's going to come out wrong, but I think you all know what I mean. I mean, people who know right from wrong and who can get shit done, because we're never going to get ahead. And it's frustrating because we see us, and we know that we're women entrepreneurs. We know that we're strong. We know that we get shit done. But, we're getting, 75%, 80% of what we should be getting.
Well, here's a perfect example. My son was 18 at the time, and we were watching, I don't know, it must have been the Emmys, or when Meryl Streep stood up or she's made the statement about her fellow actresses, or actors as they call them, getting paid the same amount as their male counterparts. And I jumped off my couch and started applauding in the middle of my living room. And my 18-year-old son said, "Mom, women are equal to men." And I said, "Honey, they are not. And you being sort of a cheap person, let me tell you when it's going to matter to you. When you and your wife, or whenever you get married, have to bring home paychecks, and she's getting paid less for the same job that she's doing, then you're going to realize that it's not equal, and it does impact you." And so he was very quiet after that point. As I'm still standing in the living room, my husband's like, "Oh my God, Trace, do you have to really bring this up everywhere?"
Yes.
But, that's the point, Women have to support women financially. We just have to. It doesn't mean that we don't like men. It just means that for a certain percentage of our money should specifically go to helping other women, hiring them, buying from them.
And Faith, I bet this plays heavily into the work that you do as well.
Oh, definitely, big time. And one of the things I do a Wednesday night group for the women every Wednesday, and one of the things we're talking about is quieting the noise, because there's so much noise, you're not good enough, you're this or whatever. And how, again, that's where the work comes in, doing that work within so that you can counter those noises that are out there. And being part of, I think also a part of it, Tracy, is having a support network. It's easy to say, yes, I'm going to be doing that, but it's tough out there. It's really tough out there, but be having a network. And what you're doing, Donna, is just, again, this is like the 10th time I said it. It's awesome. It's like creating a circle, a place where women can come together and feel supported. And I think when people feel supported, they have a voice. We're helping people to get, for me, my goal is to help these women to reclaim their voices. So when we have support, we're in a better space where we can actually use our voices, and collectively we can have more power to accomplish what we want to do.
Yeah. And Susie, how do you see this playing out as you see people tapping into their creativity? How do you see them embracing, their own voice and their own power, and letting go of, oh, I have to be nice, I have to be good?
I have had a lot of clients who have grappled with it. And one of the biggest sort of symptoms of all of that history and all of those cultural messages is a complete lack of self-trust, because they have come to believe the outside messages. Oh, if I think that, that's not right.
Mhm.
So if you're rewiring your neural network to discount your own intuitive hits, your own inner knowing, you don't have any kind of trust or any kind of solid place to put your feet in the world for what it is that you want to have happen.
Yeah.
So when people start to tap into creativity and start to not only become much more trusting of their voice, but much more visible with it, and not caring so much about what other people think, there is an absolute transformation that happens, and a domino effect that ripples into absolutely every area of their life and their businesses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, amazing. And Laura, I know you had, you had to be
Yes.
conditioned to be the nice girl, and you had a rude awakening. So share what you're comfortable sharing, but your story really does fit in here.
I've had several rude awakenings, actually. Yes, I was very culturally conditioned to be the good girl. I'm going to share this legal story. The first time I went to court, I won the very first case I ever tried. Instead of congratulating me on a good win, the judge called me into his chambers and he said, "Do you know how bad you made opposing counsel look? Don't you know who he is?" Wait, I just won the case.
No.
He said, "And you have really nice legs. If I were you, if I showed up in court, I would wear pants instead of a skirt, because you got to cover those legs. And your smile, quit smiling that much." And here's what crumbled that for me too. I was the good girl. I covered myself. I hid. I sacrificed. I fit the corporate attorney mold. I did it all right. And you are going to judge me based on your perception of my sexuality? Are you kidding? And that was, I know. And that was just the first of many rude awakenings. But, we talked about supporting women financially. It's also about supporting women emotionally. How many times have you looked at a woman and said, "I wouldn't wear that if I were her"? Or "Who does she think she is?" Or "Does she have no self-respect showing up with no makeup?" Or "Oh my God, look at all of that she's doing. Who is she trying to impress?" And we have to support each other. Do you want to be a stay-at-home mom? Yes. Do you want to be a corporate attorney? Yes. Do you want to dance burlesque at 48? Yes. Do you want to join a rock band in your 50s? Yes. It's about yes, 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 because we are who we are, and the facade we put on to be a good girl doesn't mean anything. And the more we buy into that, the more our society is going to buy into it. And oh boy, do I get fired up. I did a TEDx on this very subject, but yeah.
We'll put the link to that in the.
And women have to learn to lift women up. You are 100%, because every time you turn around, there's a woman putting another woman down because they think that it's making them look better, and it's not. And you know, for me, I want to be that hand up, right? I want to be that hand up that's going to say, "Hey, do it," you know, do it. And you look great today. You're not wearing makeup. Good. I never fucking wear makeup. I don't care. I don't care. You know, for me, it's like, I don't give a shit what people look at my age. I don't care what people think anymore. But for the people that do, be kind. It takes 2 seconds to be kind.
Well, then there's the difference of being kind versus being nice.
But what I'm saying is,
nice.
right. But where we're saying we're women, you know, like, don't wear that dress, or you shouldn't wear that shirt, or you shouldn't do this. That's not being kind. That's mean. That's like mean girl shit. And we don't need mean girl shit. We need to be kind. We need to, you know, if we start with us being kind, and then we can move that forward, maybe we help the rest of the world become kind. Because Laura, it's
Oh yeah. And support, you know, not stealing each other's work, paying for it. Women's work tends to be devalued. We need to value it. Let me attribute something Donna said. I'm attributing it to Donna. Let me attribute, let me pay, let me help, let me create that. Let's bring each other up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you want to share anything else?
I'm gonna get all fired up on this stuff. So, you know, it's like, I mean, Faith, in the work that you do, do you see that? Well, but you're more in lifting people up. So I would think you would see more of the uplifting than anything.
Not necessarily. I've been in situations where women really tear each other down, but the sad thing is that they think that they're lifting you up. I'm giving you, not what you say, is how you say it, right? And so, you know, you can give feedback, but how you actually give it, you know, I'm trying to help you. No, you're not, because the way you're talking to me is tearing me down, having me feel worse about how I'm feeling. And so many of us are walking around feeling so broken inside. We look so glamorous and beautiful on the inside, but you have to flip that and look on the inside. We are hurting so much, you know? And so going back to what you're saying, how can we lift each other up? There's so many ways financially, but I think that emotional support is so, so powerful, because when we can heal what's in between these two things here, it's magic. There's so much that can happen.
So we've got 3 minutes. Okay. And then
I just quickly say, just because I've run events all over the state with just women only, is that when I think the biggest compliment I ever got was that I was accepting of every single woman who ever wanted to come in to it, because even if they were in the same, all of them were advertisers or sales or whatever it is, it didn't matter, because individually they could make a difference for different clients based on who they were. And so something Women Ties always is just a comfortable place to be. And if you were a competitive woman who was going to put anybody else down, my place was not the place to be, because that's just not what the environment or the culture was. And so we maintained so many people because it was, we're similar, we're the same, we're supportive, we're inspiring. That's who we are. So setting the culture of your own business or organization helps to make that difference too.
Yeah, totally. So we're coming up at the end of the hour, believe it or not. I mean, we can probably do this all day long, but what I'd love to do is just kind of go around the screen and everybody like leave a wisdom bomb around courage and like what it means to you, what you want people to walk away from this with. Susie, you want to start?
Sure. I will close with reminding folks that Henri Matisse said that creativity takes courage. And yes, that's true. But perhaps more importantly, it helps us build the musculature for courage. So whatever you have to do to start small, If you are on an emotional gurney like I was, you can start with 5 minutes, and the power of accumulation will change your whole life.
Excellent. Faith?
Courage is showing up as you are and believing in yourself. And it takes baby steps. It's going to take so much such a small step that you can't even say no to yourself. And so that's one of the things I encourage women to do, is to start taking those baby steps. So those making it so small that you can't even say no to yourself.
Excellent. Laura?
Courage is releasing attachment to the outcome. It's just doing the action, taking the step, and really having the courage to not care how it turns out, just to do it because you want to do it. That's enough, and you have permission.
Great. Iris?
Courage is stepping into it. Just like you're stepping into a new skin. It's stepping into it and owning it and being authentic, being your authentic self. That takes a lot of courage. And when you do it, it's very freeing.
That's beautiful. Tracy?
I say courage. I would say use that word undaunted when you think of courage. And it means that you might be nervous or scared to do something, but that you're going to do it anyways. And you're going to come out better on the other side.
I love that word, undaunted. I'm hoping you'll write a book titled that.
I know. People should look up.
You heard it here, folks. First, folks.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to thank you all for coming here, for sharing your stories, for sharing your wisdom and your courage and your vulnerability. And this is exactly why I started this, because I know each of you, some of you longer than others, but I know what you have to share. And I want to be sure that other people know it too. And I think what we're creating here is a legacy of stories, of wisdom, of life experiences. And I believe that it's going to help generations of people, because it's just going to get passed along, and it's a new way of telling the stories. Somebody chimed in the comments about this feels like the book, The Women Who Run with Wolves, and that made my heart swell because that's exactly what I want this to be. So thank you. And if you are engaging in the replay, please tag us. We'll come back, we'll respond, we'll keep the conversation going, and come back tomorrow. We've got another interview, and every Wednesday we're booked all the way into December, and we're going to have panels every month. So come back to those as well. And please share this with your friends, with your colleagues, with your families, and anybody who needs a little wisdom in their lives. So thank you, everybody. And we will be back next week. Oh, tomorrow, actually, and then next week. Bye, all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Connect
everyone.
with all of these fabulous women, too.